Good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Link to Pass Randomizer Daily Race. Tonight we have Zelgadissan versus Khloe Prower in the losers round 2 here of Group Y. The winner will be moving on, the loser will be going home here. I am Wolfling0370, and joining on the mic is an Apathy Duck. How's it going?
Alright, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So, the road coming here has been pretty much sweeps left and right with the exception of Zelda. So, my notes say that Zelda won against the 4th seed of their group, Obscure Lifeform 2-0. But then Aussie beat Zelda 2-1 and is now advancing. So this put him down over into the losers round 2. Meanwhile, Khloe lost to Aussie in a 2-0 sweep, but then beat Obscure Lifeform with a 2-0 sweep in return, eliminating Obscure Lifeform from the group. So, very one-sided matches going through here, so maybe we'll get another nice series of 3 to wrap things up for this group.
Yeah, these guys, they're both strong runners, so this should be a good matchup here. I don't necessarily think there's really a large execution or routing advantage to either one of them, so expect a close one. Should be a good series, and they're going to be playing for their tournament lives right now.
Yeah. They're going to start things off right here in Game 1, in which we have open, randomized swords, 7-7, defeat Ganon, no math cover shovel in play. If the loser of this series, using Game 2, will have the option to change one of the settings. The setting change is predetermined. And we're off. And a sword to start off both of the runners starting in Sanctuary.
Yeah, probably one of the better items you can find right off the bat. Just makes your life a lot easier. You can farm for the equipment you need right off the bat. Just most of the strats and everything that people know requires at least some sort of sword, so you never have to fight for one. Doesn't put too much in logic right off the bat, but it's certainly a great thing to have.
So we did see a map check there, and I believe we saw a red crystal at Eastern Palace. I know we saw a pendant, I think it was Hera, and we saw a blue crystal over in Desert.
Yeah, our trackers are much faster than me. I can never read the map that fast.
I actually did read the map that fast, so I was just waiting for an opportunity to talk.
It was closed before I even realized what was happening, so...
Yeah. Plenty of money to start things off, and Khloe, what a save work.
Yeah, looking like they're trying to delay Kakariko for as long as possible and find either a flute or a bottle to avoid a second trip back there.
I think Khloe's more so going this way because of the bushes that are part of the Haunted Grove.
Yeah, coming down around south now, so that's true.
Yeah, guaranteeing some bombs to clear Kakariko a little bit more efficiently. There's one and there's two. Perfect.
That's a pretty good drop luck. There's only 2 bushes there that'll give you a bomb, so able to get both of them, that's only like a 25% chance. I need 3 total to fully clear all the bomb spots in Kakariko, so looking for the last one here.
Yeah, there's also the optional sick kid. And there was just 3 bombs in the well anyway.
Yeah, kind of the risk of doing that. They already had the $70 to buy bombs too, but you would need 100 to get the bottle vendor, which is the other main money source early in the game. So really starting off, you're looking for 100, 150 if you're going to buy bombs, but just farming the bombs there kind of takes the other 50 off your plate to worry about.
Flippers in the well for Zelgadissan. Nice down to find. Money on the library. We only saw bombs in the race game. So far, the season's being fairly nice. Of course, it's still early. Anything can happen. First look here at the well, or the blind saddle rather. Got a shield, 3 bombs. 3 bombs over on Khloe's end. The Moon Pearl on Zelda and the piece of heart. And some armor. So far, Kakariko paying out pretty okay. And there's a glove as well. So, not looking like we're gonna have Aghanim in the forecast today, although we have not seen the Lumberjack glitch. Could be important. Free blue potion from the merchant. That is really good.
Yeah, at this point, it would actually require more items to put Darkworld access through Aga, where you would need either a sword or a cape and the lamp, as opposed to, at this point, we just need the hammer to get Darkworld access the easy way. So once you have, that's kind of what you think about, like counting how many items before getting to potentially an Aga seed. So right now it does look unlikely, but it still could happen. I mean, the way these things play out, sometimes it just does that to you.
Yeah, I mean, we could have the hammer and Pyramid Fairy. Oh, never mind.
Never mind. Yep, never mind. So I'll be interested to see if either one decide to just head straight to Darkworld right now. Thieves Town becomes available the second you get Darkworld access, and it's going to be right here. 3 Hearts of Thieves Town, without boots especially, isn't the easiest thing. It's a little scary. The blind fight can be scripted, so I expect both of these runners to be able to get through that just fine. But looks like at least Zelda is deciding not to go to Darkworld, and we'll see what Khloe does.
Yeah, there's a lot of early spheres, and they do have at least the armor, but there's a lot of traps in Thieves Town that they have to worry about. The Hellway especially can easily rip away those 3 hearts quite quickly, even with armor.
Yeah, Hellway is with the boots makes it a lot easier. There's a couple standard strats to get through there, but without boots, the other thing is you got to be careful spinning in there too, because you can get a quadrant glitch. So you want to make sure you don't spin on the midline of that, and it makes the room a lot more dangerous that way.
And I like what Zelda is doing here. He is not explicitly going to Darkworld in favor of checking locations in the Light World that are glove locked, that are flippers locked, making sure that the early spheres are accounted for, or at least the more accessible checks before committing to Darkworld.
Yeah, at this point, they're not even 100% sure that Thieves Town is a crystal. So, makes some sense to come do some other checks before going in there.
Yeah, of course, a quick map check could fix that easily. But with a hammer start, it's more likely you start over near Link's house when you do your Darkworld exploration. It's just a little bit faster Darkworld access that way, instead of having to walk all the way around to the Kakariko portal.
Yeah, it depends on if you want to start Hype Cave or you want to go immediately into Thieves Town. I tend to use the rule of thumb that if there's any item I need to make Thieves Town easier, so hammer, sword, or boots, then I'll do Hype Cave first. Otherwise, I'll generally start in Village of Outcasts. But again, they have so little at this point that it makes sense to do some of these other checks first. And we got some very exciting television right now with 2 dark screens, both doing the Dark Cross rooms. Looks like we're going to find a boomerang there.
Yeah.
Bow would be nice. Boomerang's nice too. Never underestimate the time save of the boomerang.
Yeah. If nothing else, it helps with menuing.
Yeah, and even the red boomerang. The red boomerang is finally useful. I never thought I'd see the day, but I have to pick the thing up now. It makes me sad.
I would like a little some elaboration on that. How is it useful?
So there was a relatively recent set of glitches discovered varying power. They're called the Insilla glitches. The one that's really the only one that's allowed and useful for a randomizer is using Insilla to delete the splash and will let you fake flipper basically from anywhere. And there's different things that could fill up the Insillas: bombs, arrows, the red boomerang because of the sparkles after it. Ice Rod. So a couple of setups require the red boomerang. So we can now fake flipper in more locations than we could before.
Ah, yes, the splash deletion. Something I actually haven't learned yet, but I'm excited to actually try once or twice.
Yeah, it opens up a couple. It's not a big deal in this seed, but a lot of times you'd be worried about, like, especially with the Moon Pearl, fake flippering up to Zora. And if you don't do it early, you tend to not want to do it until, like, maybe comboing it with a catfish. But it used to be you couldn't do that unless you had the mirror and the flippers, because to do a fake flipper, you'd have to start on the bottom. Now you have the option of actually mirroring from catfish, and if you have the right items, and it's a bunch, so you're likely to have some way of doing it, you can actually just combo in that way. and do your fake flipper checks much later. So it opens up some new routing, some new things to think about. I tend to like being a little bit more aggressive on Zora and fake flippering early and skipping it a little bit more, because you do have more opportunities to do it later now.
Well, meanwhile, we've seen quite a few checks. Nothing really to note about them. Mini Boulder not paying out as much. That is the 4 heart piece, so Zelda is now up to 5 hearts.
Yeah, I think I would prefer to see a hype cave check at this point. It's 5 items that you can get really quickly. If you're only going to be doing hype cave, it's kind of a one-way street, just because at this early in the game they don't have the mirror, they don't have any way of getting back to Light World, so you just save and quit out of it. Now it looks like Thieves Town, if I caught that, Thieves Town is a pendant.
Yeah, Thieves Town and Skullwoods is 2 pendants. And actually, the left side also had Misery Mire having crystal number 6.
Yeah, Thieves Town and Skullwoods are interesting dungeons to have as pendants. Well, there is the mirror, so it's no longer a one-way street if they want to combo in a few more checks this way. I wouldn't be surprised going south Darkhold and knocking off K45, Stumpy, and Digging Game at this point. If he's leaving, I expect him to be going over there.
Yeah, we can see on the map check from Khloe that it is in fact a green pendant at Thieves Town. And a second bottle picked up as well. That's not as important, but hey, more safeties is more safe.
Yeah, it's nice to have those bottles early. Generally, when you get later in the game, the bottles become much less important just because you may have a mail upgrade or two, may have a bunch of hearts. But having them early, having to do some dungeons early, especially like a Thieves Town or which is a pendant today, so they may not be going in there. But it would be nice for that. But you know, later on, I don't expect too much bottle usage.
And that, those slippers combined with the Moon Pearl and the mirror, Zelda is going to just decide to do a full clear of all the water checks, hoping for another 300 rupees to pay Zora at the end.
Yeah, this is a nice bit of routing by Zelda. Don't say this too much. It kind of requires the specific circumstances that they're in right now with the mirror and everything. But you know, getting these flippers checks off, this was in logic early, so there's a decent shot that there's something here.
Meanwhile, Khloe deciding to go west and check Stumpy and the cave south of Grove. There's a bow on Hobo. That is a progressive bow as well. And that is very much our first intended bow because the flippers were so early.
Yeah, he might be taking this straight into Pod and Eastern. The Pod is out of logic right now because of the not having Fire Rod or Lamp on, but the Dark Rooms are ones that these runners are definitely going to know. The only one I'd be a little nervous about is the basement for Pod. That room is pretty tricky to do with the turtles to clear out, especially on low health. So those 2 bottles, exactly what was mentioned before, those 2 bottles can be coming real handy right here for this. Because on 5 hearts, that is pretty scary.
And just to clarify, Pod has a few checks that are in logic, but to clear it, we need to have a light source, be it from the Fire Rod or the lamp.
Yeah, the lamp is needed to full clear. Helma's only in logic with the lamp because there's a couple rooms that don't have torches in it, and that's the only way they can get put in logic. But the back could be done with, or the basement is in logic now with the Fire Rod, I believe. But that's not going to stop these runners. They will go and clear it when they need to. I wouldn't mind seeing the Eastern play first, seeing as they're both crystals, and maybe finding a fire source or something else to get through that dark room. But instead of going straight into Pod right here.
Yeah, doing a Pod Eastern clear is not an uncommon play to see them doing in the same order. It's very rare that you usually see Eastern first, then Pod.
Yeah, the only reason I would prefer to see it now is because of low health. Doesn't really have very good ways of getting through that dark room. I'm not sure their comfort level with the turtle room in particular, but it can be very tough if those turtles get away from you a little bit. And they are RNG, so there's no 100% strat in there. The bottom left turtle especially can just get away from you. Even with the lights on, it can get away from you, and it takes you some extra time to clear it.
Well, they do have a little bit of tracking AI, but I don't think it's perfect. They generally try to walk towards you.
Yeah, they do, but I'm saying right when you come into the room, there's like a set pattern they're following for the first couple seconds, and like there's a standard strat to get through them, and the bottom left one is usually the one that just like decides to go in a random direction, and you have to deal with it. And on the right side, we've got everyone's favorite mummy statue room. Just a wonderful room to get through. Opting to use the boomerang to make it a little bit easier. But this, Skullwoods is not a crystal, so it's not too bad to come in here early. Likely, there's a good chance that Skullwood won't need to be cleared. When that's the case, a lot of people tend to treat it like overworld checks, kind of similar to just like Stumpy or something. Because you just come in here as soon as you get Dark World access and potentially can find 2 items.
Yeah, and I would agree to that effect. There's only 2 items. Both of them could be in the back if Skull was, but we need the fire rod for that right now. And really, we don't really care. But there's the ice rod, and we do need that.
Yeah, ice rod will be required today. Yeah, that could be a potentially really big find if this seed starts just throwing items at us. Zelda may not prioritize Skullwoods at any point, so I'm interested to see when they decide to make that dip.
Now, one of the areas they don't have logical access to right now, although they can break it, is Death Mountain. But once they get access to that and the fire rod, as Chad is pointing out, the pedestal is potentially a possibility. There's the fire rod! And fire rod is lamp locked.
Yeah, that's actually a really big find from what you just said. Since fire rod was in a room that can only be unlocked by fire rod or lamp, logically, lamp has to be somewhere it's not in a dark room. Although at this point, Zelda doesn't really care, because lamp is one of those items you can pretty much always skip as long as you have a fire source, and the fire rod's going to give that to them. So yeah. I don't think he's going to worry about where the lamp is. We haven't seen a lumberjack check unless I missed it just now. That's the only reason that Aga would be required at this point. But even doing Aga in the dark with the fire rod isn't too bad. There's a couple of torches you can light to get through some of the really scary rooms, and the other ones are pretty straightforward.
That was a good chunk of change there in the dark maze for Zelda. I don't know what that was, unfortunately. Maybe a key?
I'm not sure. I always forget what items don't show up on in the dark.
That was big key. Oh yeah, it would have had to be in the big key if it was the last thing we didn't have. So, oh, apparently Khloe found the Ether Medallion. I didn't see where that was.
Yeah, both our runners just going completely different directions right now, so sometimes it can be a little hard to keep track when there's so much divergence like this, but certainly interesting because we're going to be seeing a lot of different stuff. This match is definitely going to just completely up in the air at this point.
Chad is informing me that we had all of the ice magic in Skullwoods. That's actually kind of funny.
I'd argue that it's probably better that Ether isn't one of the required items, because if it's 2 items required in Skullwoods, that's going to make it more likely that the seed will pull Zelda there earlier, as opposed to just the ice rod, which of course could be anywhere. So I think best case scenario for Khloe is actually not having Ether required in that case.
Yeah, but Zelda might just check it anyway. Over the fire rod and all. Might even just full clear. Skull Woods.
Yeah, that's
Just
true.
in
The
case.
fire road will pull them over there, and of course this makes a little disappointing. I wanted to see how they were going to get through this room with the equipment they have, but they had, you know, snagging that fire rod makes that turret room a lot more easy to navigate.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I wouldn't be able to see it anyways, but you know what I mean.
Using the cape to great effect here as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a scary helmet fight. Opted to not go for sword out strats on the first phase. It's kind of a little bit of a trade-off. I wouldn't say necessarily one is safer or easier than the other. Sword out makes your hitbox a little bit longer to be able to get hammer hits on it, but you're more mobile without the sword out on the first phase, and that was an excellent phase too by Zelda.
Indeed.
Getting 4 quick hammers on right there.
Yeah, using the sword out to get some more damage. Gets a slag spin at the end. And only 10 arrows on the boss, but that is our first crystals down 20 minutes into the match.
Yeah, you don't see Randomizer force you to do Helma on less equipment than you have in NMG a lot, but we just saw one right there without Master Sword and less hearts than you would normally have, and that was very well done.
Uh-oh. Khloe, be careful. Ooh! Drinking the blue potion for safety. Khloe almost died there in the hellway.
Yeah, I think the blue potion use is pretty good there. Again, they're in a little bit of a tight situation, and you know, as the seed goes on, again, they're going to get more items, more safeties. Probably not going to have to use a potion later on. So I actually like seeing early potion uses instead of trying to save it for some situation much later on that's probably not even going to be that scary.
So nothing of note in either of these dungeons just yet. But Zelda will definitely be able to full clear this. The way to the big key chest here in Eastern is arguably the easiest dark room to learn.
Yeah, either this or Old Man is probably two of the easier ones. Old Man is definitely the most useful one because you don't want to have a seed that requires you to go to Death Mountain and then you're just searching around for the lamp.
Yeah. It also helps with just routing in general because you can have that warp save and quit point.
Yeah, get the save and quit point as early as possible. Sure, not having to put it off makes your life a little bit easier. I didn't see how many items were in the front of Thieves Town. Again, Thieves Town is a pendant. So if something like at this point it would just be blind, and I don't. Is blind is our green pendant though, so it's effectively 2 items on blind. If there was like 2 items up front, and some blind does have something, again, it might make it a little less likely that Zelda comes back down this way.
Well, it's almost in Eastern has one of the dungeon items. I think there is an actual item on blind because I think I saw the compass in the first floor. And we just saw the map in the big chest. Anyway, very clean blind fight for Khloe. Does have the blue cane if things go incredibly south. Which they almost did.
Yeah, third phase is just getting away a little bit.
Oh, wow!
Ooh. So
Titan's Mitts!
So both of these pendant dungeons are going to be required.
Titan's Mitts on the boss of the dungeon that normally has a Titan's Mitts in the dungeon. Oh, see.
Yeah, so these pendant dungeons paying off pretty big. Not necessarily a big advantage at this point, because both Pod and Eastern have come up blank. And of course, Khloe will have to do both of these dungeons anyways, and most likely be full clearing them. I don't see them putting off these dungeons that long. So it really just depends on how fast Zelda decides to make both of those dips, and if Zelda decides to actually full clear Thieves Town instead of just doing the front 4.
Yeah. So we've already have progression 2 Pendant does. Who's to say that Terra doesn't have it either? And with the Titans mitts, I'd be half inclined to make an attempt to go up the mountain right now to the dark rooms.
Well, they have Mirror and Titan Smith and Hammer, so they can do the Smith sequence fairly efficiently, especially since they snag that item off a pendant. They gotta be feeling that, okay, this is an advantage for me. Let me run down these checks and see if I can extend this all the way into a win.
Is this gonna be an Aga check before we head up the mountain? Nope. So we'll be checking the mountain. Can only do the light side of it. Hammer Peg's only paying out in 20 rupees.
Yeah, this Death Mountain check now could be another advantage for Khloe, because one of the main things you're trying to do in these seeds is minimize your trips up Death Mountain. It takes like 90 seconds to get all the way over to the east side. So having to do multiple trips up there once you get more and more items to complete more and more of the mountain definitely can add up pretty quickly. They don't have hookshot. Neither one has hookshot right now to be able to completely clear it out. And of course, they'll have to come back up for TR at some point, and GT. But it's possible that Khloe will be able to do one less trip up Death Mountain than Zelda at this point,
Yeah.
which would be a sizable chunk of change.
Well, to be fair, Zelda can do the entirety of the light world side of Death Mountain, with the mirror and the hammer allowing him access to east side. And we have the Key of Samaria there.
Yeah, I think this play makes sense from Zelda at this point. But like I said, they may have to make another trip up here later on after finding those mitts, and then maybe even another one after that with hookshot, depending on how the seed plays out.
Yeah, I want to put it past the seed being a little wonky like that. But let's see, we have progression in all 3 of our dungeons.
Yeah, at this point, we're not terribly far from, if not no go mode, then at least no mode. We're still looking for hookshot, it looks like. Maybe boots, depending if desert is locked, flute, and then maybe quake, depending on the medallions.
Yeah. And maybe book, depending on where the flute actually is.
That's true. That's true. It could be force you to go in Desert Palace for progression before getting the flute.
And we also, of course, still need another sword. There are 3 more out there somewhere.
Yeah, you never think about that sword until you still have fighter sword, you're in go mode, and then it's like, well, now what?
And we haven't seen the rest of the flippers checks as well. Yeah, we're still nowhere near go mode, that's for sure.
It's interesting to look at the race right now, because if you're just looking at this with maybe you're just coming in, you see that Zelga's got 2 crystal dungeons down. He's got more items overall. But Khloe's got 2 items from pendant dungeons that may end up being the determining factor here. So just based on clear count, right now Zelga's got a lead, but this, depending on where the rest of the items are, that is big. So exactly, that's going to come into play what I was saying before. Once Khloe finally finds its way to Death Mountain, they'll be able to full clear everything besides Turtle Rock, and won't have to come back here until hopefully go mode and just be able to do Turtle Rock and GT. But that's only going to be a factor if Dark Death Mountain does have
Wait a minute. No, Khloe will be able to full clear the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They'll be able to full clear it. But Zelda may have to come back up if like Hookshot Cave or Super Bunny has something.
Well, I mean including Turtle Rock, because So he just needs the Fire Rod and the King of Samaria, and we know where both of those are. Of course, we still, for all we know, Turtle Rock could be Quake. But this could turn out to be just a minimum 2 trip for Khloe.
Yeah.
Depending on the medallions. And Zelda doesn't have the Bombos because Bombos was at Ace Alpha Grove. Or was it on Stumpy? I forget already. It was over in that region.
I know Ether was in Skullwoods.
Yeah, Ether was in a dungeon. Bombos was Overworld. I know that. And this is going to be a Swamp Palace play for Zelda, getting it out of the way. 6 items, makes sense.
Yeah, it looks like both players are making the decision that when they find a big item to go ahead and chase it down as soon as possible. So the Swamp Palace play makes sense. It's going to be a little slow with just Fighter Sword and Boots at this point. And it's a pretty long dungeon. You still have the left side swamp decision to make.
And we can piece together the logic based on this. If we see the lamp in the back, that means the flute was not available until the flute was readily available.
Yeah, that's another thing about learning the Old Man Cave. If you find, you can help you figure out where flute is sometimes based on when you find the lamp to figure out where it can and cannot be.
Yeah, in this case, if we see the lamp in the back of Swamp Palace, we know we were supposed to have the flute at some point before getting into this dungeon, or at least getting back there.
Right, and in this particular case, it probably won't be too helpful. The only places it would really eliminate is the Hookshot Cave and here.
Yeah. Now, another place that this information could be, and we can apply it to in this seed, is Turtle Rock, because we know the King of Samaria is up there. So if we say find the lamp, then it's a fair shot that flute can be in there. But if we don't find... actually, no. I think I lost my own train of thought there.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get yourself a little crossed up while doing this, especially when you're have the information from 2 runners that you're trying. When you're just running by yourself, it's a lot easier to keep in your head.
Big key for Zelda.
So early Big Cave, we'll see if they decide to go ahead and make the left side swamp play now or save it to later, and they are going to save it.
Yeah, I don't think we saw the map or compass yet in this place, which means that it could just be all the items on this side. So Zoga's playing for the potential time save, which could very well happen.
Yeah, the trade-off is it's a little faster to do left side swamp the first time through, but the downside is like you said, there could be you find all the items just in the back, and it turns out map and compass were over there. So if you do back first, it gives you a little bit more information, and the time save from doing left side swamp first isn't that big, so a lot of players just prefer going straight. And there's the lamp, like you were saying. So we know flute is not hookshot locked.
Yeah, so flute... Okay, so the flute cannot be in a dark room. Because the lamp was blocking the fire rod.
Right.
So we can rule out Lammolas, we can rule out Vitreous, and we can rule off Pedestal as potential options that I can immediately think of.
That and Hookshot Cave. Just on Death Mountain anyways, so.
And it can't be back in Turtle Rock because by logic we needed the loot to get up there anyway.
Fighter Sword Argus is pretty big pain of a boss. Only Fighter Sword spins or the hammer at work. Zelda doing a pretty nice job of trying to pull 2 and getting these double spins in on them.
Fighter Sword Slashes are... Well, Fargus is immune to the Fighter Sword Slashes. Doesn't do enough damage.
Yeah, there's several bosses that are completely immune to Fighter Sword Slashes. Argus, Cold Stare, Vitreous, and Trinex, I think? Trinex doesn't really come up unless it's a...
Trinex, you're better off using the hammer if you have a Fighter Sword.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. You always have the hammer. I was saying that situation doesn't really come up unless it's inverted for some reason. I couldn't remember why, and that's because you need the hammer to get in there, normally.
Yeah, Zelda gets the compass there, so there is at least one item left on left side swamp. And it could be the flute. Which would mean, for all intents and purposes, this was a forced double dip swamp, which is absolutely disgusting. But thankfully, Zelda, being wise with their routing, gonna get everything taken care of in one trip. Don't have to flip the water switches at all. Just has to get the key from underneath the pot and move on. Actually, taking a look at this. Oh, wow. It's sword, possibly boots, flute, and we're in Goma medallion pending. It's really tightened up in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, again, it's just Zelda still hasn't made the pendant dips that we know are required. So a lot of it's going to come down to when they decide to do that. Khloe on their Helma fight. And you can see what I was talking about before, putting the sword out for this phase 1 makes these hammer hits a little bit easier to get in, but your movement is restricted. They opt to use the bow to finish Helma off here, hopefully. Helma's being a little bit of a bully.
There's the flute! What?
Oh,
okay! I think this is the map. No, it's 5 rupees, so there's 2 items over here.
Well.
So this was, by the logic standings, a forced double dip swamp that you had to fully leave and come back. That is disgusting.
Yeah, exactly what I was saying before about learning that old man cave. There's so many items up on Death Mountain. You can break some annoying logic chains like this with it pretty often. I actually think that location, though, is kind of playing in more into Khloe's hands than Zelda, even though they're the one who actually found the flute, because again, there's just being led further and further away from these pendant dungeons. So they may be doing a lot of other clears before they finally get there.
Well, on the flip side of that, Khloe could choose to ignore left side swamp and end up last location of the flute.
That is true. I mean, left side swamp isn't something that is always done. There are 2 items over there. I know a lot of people use that as their breakpoint. If there's 2 items, you go back. Just kind of take the decision off. It just depends on how many items are left for go mode. If by the time they head into swamp, they're only looking for 1 item, then maybe I could see a skip being there a little bit more likely.
Yeah. We'll see what Khloe does when they eventually get over into that region.
Yeah, and it's a 1-on-1, so there's a lot of stuff going on. You know, maybe decide like, well, let me play conservatively the first match and then see if I can just get a win that way. So it just depends on what they're planning before coming into the seed. What, I mean, they've already made the pendant dips. So I don't know if in their mind that's a risk or if that's playing conservative, but so far, I mean, again, those 2 items are going to be required, and it's just the only benefit I think Zelda has right now is the mitts do lock a lot. So if they avoid Thieves Sound for a very long time, there's a lot of checks they won't have to do. And it may end up saying what I was saying about the extra trips up Death Mountain. If there's just nothing over there and mitts or Zelga's go mode, they also won't have to make another Death Mountain trip. We know 1 is required. 2 may not be required.
Yeah, I'm half inclined to not call it go mode just yet, even though we do have all of the majority of our items. We still don't have a Master Sword. Until we have that, our runners are not going to start beelining dungeons.
We don't have the Master Sword, we don't have Medallion Knowledge, and we don't have Boots. And we don't know if Desert Palace is Boots locked yet or not.
Third bottom, green potion inside. It's not a bad thing to have. And yeah, there's still a lot of factors playing into as well. As far as we know right now, we have everything we need minus that second sword. So I think Zelda is going to immediately flute away and... No, it can't check the Maya region yet. I almost spoke too soon. We need that Titan Fist from on blind. And blind is the green pendant, so... When is Zelda gonna dive that, really?
Yeah, it'll be interesting if Sword ends up being our go mode. I think that's one of the more interesting decisions in this game is when you're in Sword go mode, how much do you check? Because you know there's 3 copies out there that'll get you into go mode. One of them can be in Ganon's Tower, or multiple of them can be in Ganon's Tower. So do you still check a lot? Do you effectively go mode it and just check a couple of checks along the way, risking that maybe they were all just chests that you skipped and you have to come back? So it's one of the more interesting things. I always kind of enjoy seeing it.
I think at least in this instance, if you're looking for that one last sword, you don't leave any potential swords behind. You check everything you can find. And only until you have at the very minimum requirements do you start checking only things that are on your way.
See, I'd go the other way. There's so many. You're so likely to find a sword. I'd turn on the jets at that point and just hope I'm gonna find one at some point.
Well, there's also the argument that if we just find the one sword along the way and you're just going there, we also run the risk of just having barely enough for Master Silverless, which is not a very fast fight and could easily turn the tide your opponent finds the Silver Arrows or the Temperature because you're going too fast.
Yeah, so, potentially, but I think maybe you're overthinking the seed at that point. Just get the Ganon as fast as possible, and then if your opponent happened to stumble upon an extra sword and did more checks, and that's what swings it, I feel like at that point you just gotta, tell them GG and get ready for the next one.
Yeah, we have a differing opinion here, but no matter what, the runners will make the ultimate decision whether or not they're gonna go for Master Silverless or not.
Yeah, so Zelda coming up on what we know to be the big decision point here, whether or not they decide to A, go into Thieves Town, and B, full clear it. Because the mitts are on blind.
Yeah, not even on any of the other checks, just on blind, and that's actually the only thing that's worth getting in here, to my knowledge.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to be paying attention here to see how many items are in the front. If there's only one item up front, I know we found the map downstairs, and I'm not sure where the small key was. So it's right there. So yeah, that means there's going to be 2 items up here.
No, it's 1 item, I believe, because I think the compass was up front.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you said that. So it's just gonna be 1. So that's gonna make it a lot more likely that they're gonna go on and full clear. If it was the other way, where there was 3 items up here, it's definitely a different set of circumstances. Although this is green pendant, so that again goes into the waiting of whether you're gonna bail out or not.
Khloe checking the escape sequence. Maybe a sword is in there.
I don't even think we've seen this yet, have we?
And yeah, there's the compass right there.
All right, so right here is the big decision point. Let's see what Zelda decides. And it looks like they're going to be full clearance, so they will get their mitts.
Yeah, there's way too many items in the back. Already have the hammer, so doing a full clear seems to be the more sensible play at this point. However, there is one minor issue. And that is, simply put, if they follow the Titansmiths immediately, Zelda will be pushed further away from the Ice Rod and the Ether Medallion, which we may also need for all we know.
I haven't seen that hookshot trap before. That's pretty interesting.
I mean, you save time wherever you can.
Yeah, I think that saves time. That's pretty close. So, I mean, pretty much anything you hookshot does save time, but he's got to move in and out there to get those hooks on. Hookshot ends up being effectively 2 pixels per frame because you have to wait for it to extend and then it pulls you in, and it's both 4 pixels a frame. So it's slower than boots, but it is faster. The only reason it's faster than your walking speed is because Link's walking speed alternates at 2-1.
Alright, let's see what's in Zelda's cell here. Now, this is a sword. I can see Zelda not ever finding this sword.
Yeah, I think a sword is probably the best case scenario for Khloe in there, but unfortunately just a hard piece. So it looks like escape, or at least the front of escape is a blank. I don't think there was anything in the back either besides the blue boomerang.
Khloe not safe quitting here. I think Khloe's going to be heading up to Catfish. That's a set of checks we haven't seen yet, is the entire Zoro domain region.
Yeah, a little surprised Khloe's putting off Death Mountain for this long. Again, they may be thinking they want the hook so they can just full clear it in one loop. Unfortunately, Hookshot is up there, so they're never going to find it down here. So it's going to be interesting to see when they decide to go up the mountain. I would expect soon. There's so much up there, and you've kind of run out of places to check down here that make any sense.
Yeah, I think mainly that fear of minimizing full clear is what's keeping Khloe off the mountain. But even without the hookshot, you can still full clear. You just have to go the long way around to the east side, which
Except for Hookshot Cave, you need neither Hookshot or boots.
But you check the flight world first, and you find it in Paradox anyway, so it would work out overall.
Yeah, it's going to end up working here, but I'm just saying I think that's why they're putting it off and doing these checks still.
And there's the 4th bottle, Khloe finding the 3rd one of the seed. Unfortunately, Waterfall Fairy only giving us these. Flying down for Zelda, there's the Titansmith, and there's the green pendant.
So we do know that Zelda does also have to go into Skullwoods. We'll see if they decide to go into Skullwoods here. Really, at this point, it looks like it would either be Skullwoods, head back up the mountain to do those Dark Death Mountain checks, or do the Smith sequence.
Walking south, it's Smith chain.
Yeah, and this makes sense. It's not going to pay off. There wasn't really anything in this chain. They also do have Flute, which would make handing in the purple chest to complete the Smith sequence not too bad as well. I don't think Khloe did the purple chest. I think it was the only part that was left out.
I believe Khloe did do the purple chest. I think it was 15.
Okay.
But also, Zelda can use the flute to check the Mire region. And check Desert as well, see if its boots locked.
Yeah, there's enough that those gloves open up, especially that they have the flute already. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Skullwood skip here still.
The worst thing I think Zelda can do is dive Turtle Rock, thinking the Ice Rod's in there.
Yeah, that would definitely be the worst.
But I don't think Zelda will do that.
It's getting to the point. I think when he decides to make the trip up there, I think Turtle Rock at that point is going to look fairly attractive.
Actually, looking at this, Zelda might be able... Yeah, if Zelda plays their cards right, Zelda could save the... no, it's in Skullwoods, it wouldn't matter. I was thinking some portal saving shenanigans could be involved, but I don't think that's possible.
Not if they go to Mire.
I wasn't sure if the portal would stay if they went to Skullwoods after doing the the belly of Turtle Rock.
No, once you go back to the Dark World, the portal disappears.
Yeah, so we'll have to check that first. We have a question in chat. Cool Kender asks, is Ice Palace clear with hookshot? Yes. It depends entirely on the key logic, however, and well, key logic's a complicated matter to begin with. Almost for Ether, for Mizrmire rather. But the basic understanding of key logic is this: if the seed will assume that you used your keys in the worst way possible. There's our boots. Great find for Zelda. So because we could use a key poorly, or a key may not be available for left side, if we might need the hookshot just to get the big key on the right side. It doesn't take this trick into account whatsoever. Coming up for Khloe, the Ice Palace bomb jump. And those boots were required. Desert had the big key on the torch.
Yeah, so Mire is full clearable. It makes sense to do Desert first. Mire is one of those dungeons that you really don't want to do with Fighter Sword. Fighter Sword Vidi is slow, if nothing else. If not scary, it's slow. So it's smart to put it off for as long as possible. It would make sense to me to do Mire right after this Desert Palace, although you can always just flute back to Mire. So it's not that long to put it off.
Yeah, we do have K plus a green potion to at least. We can't even do hammer shreds actually. That's kind of an iffy thing.
Fighter Sword Vitreous is just there's no way of making it good or fast. It's just bad.
Well, there is a way that Fighter Sword Vitreous will be fast, but we don't have it yet. We need to find that other bow. Because Silver's absolutely shred Vitreous. But Zelda might be incentivized to go for it anyway because that is the other fight 6 crystal. And that can unlock one of our swords, maybe 2 swords even. And behind the Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, my inclination Zelda's gonna go in there, but I would definitely understand the impulse to flute away and just come back.
So Fighter Sword Lambo normally is not an ideal fight. It's pretty slow. It's also the vanilla strats. But we have the Fire Rod, and Fire Rod and Ice Rod both do the same damage to Lambolas. And how much damage is that? Enough to 2-shot.
Yeah, very very nice Fire Rod Lamo right there. Lamo can still give you bad patterns when you have the Fire Rod, but Lamo played nicely and was just able to finish that fight off in a 1 cycle.
Alright, so Big Q is on right side along with a small key. I don't know if we had a small key available in the first 3 chests here in Ice Palace. I wasn't paying too much attention.
I don't even try to decipher hookshot logic in Ice Palace anymore. I've given up. I've forgotten a couple times. I'm like, yeah, this is definitely hookshot locked, and hookshot was on Cold Stare, and I ended up last locationing it. So the only thing I know for sure is if Cold Stare has a key, then it's Samaria locked.
Yeah. Which would be a hint for Khloe to start maybe looking for places that could have been reached by now.
Yeah, again, Khloe doing Ice Palace before doing the Death Mountain. Cold Stare is not quite as bad with just Fighter Sword as Vitreous is. Hammer does speed it up a little bit. Fire Rod definitely speeds it up.
Sword.
I think they have a green pendant or green potion.
Yeah, I think they have a green potion. We have a sword at Agina. Also, a small key in the IC room, which would have led him through that door. if they mirrored and went back to the dungeon. So Ice Palace was not hookshot locked. It required you to basically mirror and redo the dungeon, but it was not hookshot locked.
And Zelda taking that sword straight into Meyer, which makes perfect sense now that they have Master Sword. Master Sword Vidi is 10,000 times better than Fire Sword. You can get through it with like I think you can one cycle it even. So it's just a lot better. Not really anything to worry about at this point.
Yeah, we'll most likely be seeing the cave strats. Cave and spin.
It's got plenty of hours. Doesn't need the cape. Spin to win, baby.
Well, even with the red mail, the slime still does trap damage. It'll do a whole heart. And may want to preserve, and he may want to preserve his health for the final fight. Colster, meanwhile, for Khloe, getting away from the initial spin. Back doing spin stress right now. Has to be careful of the ice crystals as well. Pulling out the hammer. Beaky and Misery Mire as well.
Yeah, I think if Khloe had a green potion, that'd be the time to use it. The fire rod hits Colster like a truck. It does gold sword damage. There's not many other places you really want to save that green potion for and speed up this fight a little bit, but they're doing a good job of avoiding these these falling ice and getting these spins out on Colster.
Yeah, unfortunately, the green potion that we saw that was freebie, that was on Magic Bat, and Khloe does not have that clearly.
Oh, they don't have a green. Well,
oh,
no.
And that's a death. That's actually very, very bad. That is the worst place to die in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, Cold Stare Death is pretty bad. It's going to be about a 3-minute time loss to get all the way back down there. Let's see if they decide to... No, they're going to bail out. I think they found all the items in there, so this makes sense. Come back there when you have a better sword, go mode.
Yeah. Or maybe a potion for magic efficiency. This could be Khloe deciding to go up the mountain at this point, and that's actually the best play Khloe can make.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think most of any advantage Khloe had from having that fire rod in Skullwoods evaporated at that point.
Meanwhile, we did see one item here in Misery Mire. It was the mushroom. There's the second item, and it is the tempered sword.
Yeah, Vidi is gonna go down fast now at this point, so.
Yeah.
So all of our swords are hiding over in this area. It's a bit bad news for Khloe because they're not gonna find one probably anywhere else. There's one still hiding out there, but it could be in Gaines Tower, it could be anywhere.
Yeah. However, Zelda does not have that ice rod, and that could be all Khloe needs to have as an advantage.
Zelda dash in before that block to set up the spooky glitch we'll be seeing here shortly. We're going to be getting through these couple rooms with a little bit of magic.
Yeah. So, spooky action glitch, just as a basic understanding is, for long story short, we've desynced the splash hitbox to be higher up on the screen than it should be.
Yeah, it has to do, again, it kind of related to the fake flipper stuff I was talking about before with how the game manages memory. Basically, by kicking up dust, we force a memory value to a different location. And that's the memory value that the fire rod uses to figure out where its splash damage is supposed to be, and we can put it in just really silly places.
Alright, another crystal on the board for Zelda. Those swords are in a really ideal location. And Tempered Ganon is going to be very much an easier fight than Master Silverless.
Yeah, I think Chloe's best hope right now is Zelda heads to TR without the Ice Rod. That would pretty much negate the death on Cold Stare, because both of them will have to double dip one dungeon effectively.
Well, Khloe still has a minor time lead. Despite this. Yes, Khloe has less items, but Khloe will be able to full clear this, which gives another transition. One less transition. And also, Zelda will have to go to Skull Woods as soon as possible to get the Ice Rod. Which I don't see Zelda doing anytime soon.
Yeah, this is just all going to come down to when Zelda decides to make the Skullwood play.
And I think Khloe actually deciding to use the coffee break for an actual break. Nice dash cancel there for Zelda, getting the bomb over to the pyramid faster. The Pyramid Fairy has just 2 hearts. 14 red is pretty safe in my opinion. Khloe is going at the Terra, it looks like. Actually, now that I think about it, Pet is dead, isn't it? I haven't even mentioned that.
Quake. We still don't know what TR's medallion is.
That is true. That is true. And by a technical aspect, the seed does expect us to have silver arrows. These runners clearly do not need it. They both should know silverless at this stage. But in terms of the logic the seed is coded to follow, if silvers are on pedestal, it's a pedestal seed.
Yeah, so the only way Hera is going to end up help out Khloe is if it is Quake and Turtle Rock is also the Quake medallion.
Well, there's one of the 2 items here. I think the second item's on Moldorm.
I think I'm going to make the bold prediction that Zelda is going to make the TR play before Skullwoods. It's just, I got a feeling.
Second item on Moldorm is only 5 rupees. And with that, no, Zelda cannot, or Khloe rather, cannot pull the pedestal. It has to still fulfill the boss. Which that is a good dungeon to leave for last if you're thinking pedestal.
Yeah, especially with Mirror, you could just kill Moth and go get the pet. But what is Khloe still needs? They just need Hookshot and potentially Boot. Was Desert Boots locked?
Yes, that's big key on the torch.
Yeah, but its boots are right in Mire Shed. You're not going to miss that. So
No.
Really, this Hookshot is going to put them in. Oh, Hookshot, and then they right to Swamp Palace for the flute. What Khloe may end up doing is going to Turtle Rock right here. Because they can full clear if it's not Quake. So I suspect we're going to get our Dark Death Mountain checks done finally. And we'll be able to see what Turtle Rock is to figure out if we are in no mode or not.
Alright, well, Catfish being checked out for Zelda hasn't done these yet. Khloe about to get the hook shot.
So in Chloe's mind, probably the two reasonable plays here are either do Turtle Rock right now or do Swamp with that hook shot. I feel like the only reason you would avoid Turtle Rock at this point is, again, because you just have Fighter Sword.
Alright. So Khloe will now be the first one to check the Dark Death Mountain. And if it's anything except Quake, I don't see Khloe not leaving this dungeon behind.
Yeah, it's always nice to combo in with the GT. We know nothing's in there, but when you're up here and you can clear it, you tend to just do it. It doesn't benefit a lot from go moding it. It just potentially can skip the big chest. Oh, and there's Silvers.
Some arrows and
Yeah,
the
so
fire shield.
that definitely is going to help a little bit. That's a location that Zelda may just skip. Assuming Turtle Rock isn't Quake and we go on a big Quake hunt here, when they finally come up to Turtle Rock, they may just go to Turtle Rock and straight to Ganon's Tower. So that's 40 seconds in Chloe's pocket on Ganon.
And the Book of Medora as well. Now Khloe might feel behind here with the last news. Oh no! Quake
Well,
is
that's
on Aga!
Well, let's see if Chloe's gonna let us know real quick if this is gonna require or not. This is gonna be kind of funny.
It is!
Oh!
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an Aga speed, an hour into speed.
Oh, that's classic.
Oh man.
So I think that helps Chloe out because again, that makes it. Like I said, the Turtle Rock play here would have been very reasonable. You would have ended up full clearing up just on that Fighter Sword. Silvers don't help you at all in Turtle Rock. That is good for Khloe that it's like that. They're gonna go find their. Hopefully they won't skip left side swamp. At this point they've cleared so much, left side would be too risky to skip. So I think this is the best case scenario. The only problem is it doesn't let Zelda make the double dip play, which I think they were thinking about doing here. So it cuts both ways. It honestly cuts both. Maybe it wasn't better for Khloe. I think the best case would have been Zelda going in here, because Chloe's going to have to double dip Ice Palace.
Yeah, this suddenly has shifted over to Zelda's favor. Because Khloe could assume that it's a pedestal seed.
I mean, this doesn't eliminate... If Zelda's really thinking, I'm going to make this Ice Rod play in Turtle Rock, you know, clear this up here, he's going to see Turtle Rock's Quake, he's going to go get his Quake, and he can still make that play. So it doesn't take it off the table.
No. Khloe is probably gonna go check Lumberjack here. And Khloe's not checking Lumberjack.
Yeah, I mean, a common thing to do is Bomb Crocs are always locked by boots, and so is lumberjack. You always need the boots. So a lot of players, because those two checks are like right next to each other, you know you can't get the agate item until you have boots. And there's always a convenient way to check them when you have boots with another check. So a lot of people just do not check lumberjack until they have boots, as a rule of thumb. So I don't think that's a big deal whatsoever. They're going to find the boots soon enough, and they'll combo in those checks. Although they looks like they're heading back into. Are they making the pet play?
I think they are. I think they're just gonna blindfold Ped, hoping that it's a Quake medallion.
Yeah, I don't think I like this too much. A lot of times when it's like, oh, I did 2 pendants, this is really my only chance. But those 2 pendants were required. The ice palace staff definitely hurts, but we know that's not putting them as big of a hole as they probably think they're in.
Hera's was completely optional.
And meanwhile, Zelda going back into Hera.
I already have both items in Skull Wood, so
Both of these runners are getting seems like a little tripped up by this seed.
all right.
Oh, right. Khloe has the book. They're just making this. Okay, I take back what I said. This makes a lot of sense. They went through in Dark World to be able to place that portal. If Ped was something, it would tell them right here. They can go right back into Skullwoods, clear it, and then get the item. So that I retract my previous comment.
Yeah, it's smart to check the pedestal first, then.
Yeah, it was.
the other way around.
I think that check was fine, and it was a smart way. It was a very smart way of checking it. So I really like that.
However, we should point out, Khloe did not check lumberjacks. So doesn't know Quake's there.
Yeah, but again, I think they're pretty much on the path that's going to get them there. Khloe's gonna come in, clear swamp. At this point, I don't see them skipping left side, so they'll get the flute. That'll bring them to Meyer. They'll get the boots, and then the boots will force them to check lumberjack and then do Aga.
Zelda opting to not get the big key, instead going to do the Herapod strat. We know that there is nothing in the big chest, but Zelda might go get the big key regardless. So, honestly, I don't see why Zelda did that. You already know the big key's in the basement.
I mean, it's still faster to Herapot than to climb up the tower if you do it quickly enough.
Yeah, but we know based on what we know, the second I was in the big chest, it would have been a little bit faster just to get the big key and go up normally. Gonna abandon it though. Probably the best thing Zelda can do because that's just 3 bombs in there.
Yeah, I think because of the Toro Rock check and maybe the failed Ice Rod play because of Quake, just feels a little priced into getting this medallion to hedge against the pedestal, perhaps.
Well, one thing's for sure, we are definitely in no mode. We haven't even mentioned that yet.
Yeah, I think Zelda is ahead just as far as like things that are completed, but I think Khloe's got the more straightforward path to the end of the seed. At this point, I feel like the path for Khloe to get to Go mode is pretty obvious. I don't see really any reason to divert from it. Most of the seed's been cleared out. They're gonna get the items that are just gonna lead to the next one in the chain. Meanwhile, Zelda is just. When did they decide to go into Skull Woods?
Well, it's actually both sides actually have that sort of when will they do this sort of thing. Because Khloe has completely abandoned checking lumberjack, and we know that's where the Quake medallion is resting.
Well, again, I think they're just waiting. There's just no reason to check it before boots a lot of times. So I suspect once they get the boots, they will do Bomb Croc straight into lumberjack. So I'm not worried about that.
I suppose that's true.
And Zelda still has the possibility of making the Turtle Rock play. That's not off the table.
And Khloe is actually going to...
Khloe remembering that the Fighter Sword does not hit that switch, which is the most annoying thing.
Yeah,
that fighter
Chloe's gonna
sword
full
somehow.
clear. Yeah, and Khloe is full clearing swamp, which is the smart play.
Yeah, when you're in the situation where you feel like you're priced into clearing it because you've done it fairly late, doing left side first makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, either one I think is defendable in most situations. So it just depends. It's one of those dungeons that I think is just good having a rule of thumb, and then just one less thing you have to worry about.
It really comes down to who checks the correct information first at this point. And going to Meyer for Khloe would be the best thing ever. We know there's 2 swords in the region, one on the kingdom, one in the dungeon.
I mean, I can't see them going anywhere else besides Meyer at this point. They've really just. I mean, I don't remember 100% of everything they've checked. They may have 1 or 2 out of away locations, but that flute's going to make the Meyer area really juicy. That's going to get them the boots, and then I fully expect them to check Bomb Crocs and Lumberjack. So I really think Khloe is going to stay on a pretty straightforward path here.
I can think of one.
Does Zelga go into Skullwoods before Turtle Rock? And honestly, I feel like they're really thinking Turtle Rock.
I can think of one thing Khloe will do before checking Meyer. And it's the obvious statement of turning on the flute.
Well, yes.
Now, Khloe might decide to take a small detour and walk over to check Aga in the meantime, but I wouldn't put it past them to check it later when they have the boots.
Yeah, walking past Aga like that this late in the sea, to me that's just a sign of someone who just says, I'm not checking before the boots because I know I can't get it without the boots.
Yeah, so we'll see Khloe finish this dungeon. Should pick up the lamp as well. And realize just how disgusting the seed was. Thankfully, both our runners avoiding that accursed double dip here into the swamp that the seed expected us to do. They wanted to get our flute so we can go get our hook shot so we can go get that. To go get our fire rod. Which is in the dark rooms of Pod, as a reminder. Khloe's not checking the last chest. Knows that there's just dungeon items left at this point. And Khloe with 14 hearts red mail could easily tank Cold Stare again. Did die to it earlier though, so probably a little rattled.
Yeah, they'll also almost certainly be going back in there with tempered, so we'll see here on Zelga's side shortly how much easier this tempered fight is.
Oh yeah.
See what strat they decide to go with.
And we'll even use bombos to save some magic so that potentially get a few fire rod shots in. No,
Yep,
just gonna use.
Yeah, this means that Zelga is going to use one of the can strats on Cold Stare. Looks like we're going with the 6-slash, old, reliable. And by reliable, I mean never reliable. That isn't a thing that's like 6-slash is just notoriously unreliable to get off. Cleans up the fight very nicely, manages just to hold it together. But if you know if the spin strats need like single poke or double poke, you generally don't want to use bombos when you have temper because it throws off your timing so bad, and you're just better off just going in and fire rodding it down.
Yeah, and that was the shovel on Cold Stare. Meanwhile, Khloe does get the crystal as well from Swamp. The shovel could make. Oh, good thing it's the ice rod. All right, Yeah, Zelga's gonna check the shovel. We know it's gonna be nothing important at this point. Could be a sword, actually. That'd be exceptionally rude.
Yeah, even a sword though. It's just Zelga's not gonna care about that.
Yeah, tempered is plenty of strength. And it's our usual red rupee.
Heading over to. Oh, never handed in the green pendant. Okay.
Yeah.
We're just gonna get a quick green pendant hand in here. We know, again, this is nothing. So I may be wrong about Zelda thinking Turtle Rock then. They're clearing a lot of the overworld before heading up to Aga to get the Quake Medallion.
I can kind of see why they're doing this. They're trying to prevent another mountain climb for me guessing wrong. And
yeah,
overall,
this makes potential a lot of sense. Oh, wait. Is this going to be it?
This is the Aga play.
This is the Aga play. So this may mean, because they're doing the Aga play now, Turtle Rock might be already locked in their mind.
Yeah. Or it could just be getting out of the way and then heading over to Skull Woods, which would actually be very brilliant and very clean.
Yeah, I mean, you could just be, 100% know that you got to do this. This is 4 minutes to think to weigh your choices. So this isn't necessarily a sign that it's going to be the Aga play or the Turtle Rock play, but I don't know. It smells a little bit like they're going to skip Skull Woods.
And as a reminder to you in chat, or those who might tune in, Aga 1 is holding the Quake Medallion, which is required for Turtle Rock, on the Lumberjack Ledge. So it is required to do this.
Yeah, at this point, I think, just based on where both of these runners are, I think Khloe's only hope is that Zelda does make that Turtle Rock play. Even then, I think Zelda may still have a little bit of a lead here.
It's really too soon to call. Because Khloe, for all intents and purposes, is in go mode. Did pick up the lamp. Will begin the Tempered Sword. Doesn't really need it.
Actually, I could see Khloe skipping the Tempered Sword. Tempered was... The two swords were... One was in Nagina, the other was in Mire. They're definitely going to get the one in Mire. Like,
actually, no,
that's unmissable.
I jumped the gun way too hard there, sorry. I said Khloe was in go mode. No, we still need to get... Wait, we still need to get boots. I am going way too far ahead here.
Yeah. But I could see, getting these boots right here, I could see, gonna get the boots, gonna get the Master Sword. Yeah, I could see just not doing Agina. That feels a little risky at this point, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. That would be interesting.
Alright, Chad, let's see some numbers fly in the chat for a little bit here. We have the Aga 1 fight coming up. And there's a little mini game we like to play in the community. How many of those blue shots is Aga gonna throw? Maximum is 15 if we get nothing but... If we don't miss a shot, a reflective orange shot.
Chat pointing out that I'm dumb and I missed Khloe already getting Master Sword, so ignore everything I was prattling about for the last 2 minutes.
So Aga fires a guaranteed orange shot to start, followed by a 50-50 between orange and the blue shot you just saw. So we're at 2 now, and then finishes up the cycle with a lightning strike that is completely random. It changes direction every frame. And then the cycle repeats itself. Best cycle to get is no orange shots, although it is very unlikely. And just one blue shot will make this a force to recycle. There it is.
And the one thing that Randomizer does do is it forces the blue balls between both of the runners to be exactly the same, so there's no potential time gain or loss here.
Yeah, it's the same fight for everyone unless you die. In which case, it chooses another scripted set.
The only time blue balls matters in Rando and Aga is when someone mistakenly does Aga, thinking it's an Aga seed, and it turns out not to be. Then obviously, just the more blue balls you get, the more time you wasted.
Now, there is a little bit of an extra difficulty now in Zelda's routing. First up, if you save and quit now, with the mirror in hand and Aga 1 defeated, you'll start on the pyramid, which Zelda does not really want half the time. The other thing to note is the enemies in the light world are now generally more difficult in terms of number and placement. For example, Eastern Palace, this is the area in front of Sahasrara, has a lot of red guards, which are aggressive on sight.
I was questioning why Zelda was coming up this way instead of just saving and quitting but it was just knocking off the graveyard ledge right here. This is a pretty smart bit of routing. Just unusual routing that you don't see very often, so pretty heads up to combo this in really quick. Make sure Ice Rod's not here. Now the other thing is this would be an extremely convenient place to check Skull Woods with this routing. There's something else I wasn't considering. So we're gonna know real quick whether Zelda is gonna make the Turtle Rock play or going to go into Skull Woods.
I would say that Zelda would have gone to Skull Woods by now because you have to go all the way around, I think, from this spot.
But I think the plan was to combo in these checks with getting this Quake, which is again a really nice piece of routing that Zelda is doing here, because it makes sense. You can just make this loop. You know, if he's thinking, okay, I gotta get this Quake medallion, I might as well do it with the graveyard and Skull Woods checks. And the fact that he's walking out right here, oh, but he hooked up the flute. Oh no, he's gonna prove me wrong.
Yeah, Zelda's gonna head over to Turtle Rock.
Go to 3. And okay. Alright, we got a race.
Yeah, Khloe just needs to check Aga. And with the boots, would be most likely inclined to do so.
Yeah, so
after checking Bonk Rocks for potential Quake.
Basically, the way the C is playing out from here, Chloe's got to do Misery Mire, Ice Palace, Turtle Rock, and Agus Tower. Turtle Rock would be go modable, but that's, again, doesn't save too much. Meanwhile, Zelda basically has to do Turtle Rock twice and Skull Woods.
Yeah, and Khloe has already been through Ice Palace, so it doesn't really even need to do the bomb jump. Can just go straight down there, I think.
Definitely has to do the bomb jump. 100% has to do that bomb jump unless you want to play a lot of DLC rooms.
Well, you can just go straight down there and use the cane smart, man.
Oh, right, the cane. Yeah, I forgot about that. I never think about the cane.
So while I will concede that the bomb jump may be faster, isn't necessarily required at this point.
Actually, no, I think not doing the bomb jump does take time, so I think you're right. Just one of those things I never think about.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But if it was the first dip, then absolutely bomb jump would be faster. No, this is going to be a second dip for Khloe, because Khloe died on Cold Stare earlier in the sea. Notice Khloe realized the third sword is just one room away there next to that small key.
They're gonna make good use of iframes to get through these roller rooms.
There's half magic in Turtle Rock. Not gonna be too important, but it's a nice safety to have. There's temper serve for Khloe.
Chomps. Zelda doing a nice, as good of a job as they could in that room, but Chomps just can take it away from you sometimes, but managed to get through that room without any damage despite getting some pretty bad RNG. Very well done.
Ooh, this would be fairly interesting here for Khloe. Khloe is making the descent down here. Obviously, has the Cane Samari, has the lamp, so this will be pretty easy. But I'm going to point out the arrow count Khloe currently has. Khloe does not have enough silver arrows to kill all of Vitreous' eyes.
Yeah, well, they do have tempered sword, so it's still possible to zero cycle Vitreous with some damage boosts.
Yes.
Or even just the cape. So, just I don't know if they know that strat. So it'll be interesting to see what they go with. I'm not sure if Spooky went off there. Usually you can see the screen hitch. Yeah, it didn't. So they're coming up here to hit the switch.
Yeah, probably either missed the fire red shot or it didn't set it up.
Yeah, I didn't see the initial bird setup to see if it was done correctly.
Yeah.
There is still a way of getting it by voiding out a Samaria block into that hole right there. You have to do a fire rod dash to be able to get it though.
Yeah, but it's no big deal. It's only a couple seconds.
It's about 10. Looks like Chloe's opting to use cape strats on Vitreous.
Well, each of the eyeballs have the same health as Trinex is phases, so 5 slashes or 3 spins is enough. And then 2 silver arrows to the Vitreous' eyeball, and there we go. So I'll go about halfway through Turtle Rock. Desperately looking for the ice rod here. We know it's in Skull Woods. In the chest north of Pinball Room. I think that's the map chest?
But I have no idea.
I don't know either.
I try not to open up match chests in the vanilla ROM.
I'm just trying to remember square locks up. Alright, so Khloe, with the new weapon in hand, is going to be taking on, not Vitreous, Coldstare. It's got them mixed up again. And this makes perfect sense. Getting some revenge here before going on the hunt for what we know is an Agaseed.
Yeah, again, Chloe just maybe knows they have to do this. It's never going to get any faster at this point. It might just be using this couple minutes just to think about the remaining options. But I fully expect boost checks to be the first thing. And on Zelga's side, we're about to get kicked out of this dungeon with no ice rod very shortly.
Yeah, it really depends on who checks the other location first.
Well, I don't think Zelda has very much besides Skull Woods. Like, I can't think of anything else that would possibly be left or more attractive than Skull Woods. I mean, even if the you're thinking, well, maybe it's Pedestal Seat, you're just gonna do Skull Woods, and then combo that straight into Pedestal. Although it looks like they're trying to save a portal here. Maybe there might be a couple of Light World checks they haven't done. Yeah, okay, so there are a couple. I think this makes sense. Try to save this portal. Hope to snag a vanilla fire rod.
Yeah. Or vanilla ice rod, rather.
Yes, did I say fire rod?
I mean, I mix up Molder and Lamos all the time, alright? There's the 4th sword!
Oh,
How did we not miss that?
It's not something Zelda wants to see.
And I think this is Skullwoods.
Yeah, this looks like the Skullwoods play. Yeah,
So
it is. Yeah, Zelga's gonna have a pretty substantial lead after this point.
Yep. Can't see the portal, but that's fine. Can just go straight through Turtle Rock. And I want to point out, Zelda is pretty much full clear this season. Look at their health.
Yeah, full health, red mail, gold sword.
The fire shield, which is the best shield.
Incorrect.
I know no shield is the better shield.
Oh no, I was gonna say mirror shield is the best shield.
Nah, mirror shield causes lighting, and you can't get rid of it when you want to. When it's done being useful.
Yeah, but it's hilarious.
I will admit, it's quite ridiculous. So, Khloe has some time here to maybe make this a race.
Yeah, I think Khloe needs Zelda to make. Probably needs to die at some point for them to catch up. This is a pretty substantial lead. I mean, we still have to do Aga Tower. It's good. 3 minutes to get 3 minutes plus Aga, which what was it? 3 blue balls.
Well, here's the thing. Zelda might think the ice sword's on Mothula.
I even with full clearing Skullwoods, I still think Zelga's got a chunk of a lead here.
And yeah, there's still stuff like the mushroom to turn in. This back to front is definitely gonna even things up a little bit, but it's still gonna be in Zelda's favor overall.
Yeah, especially with the rando patch that gold sword actually damages Moth.
Yeah, it used to be on the same level as the spikes, which they coded Mothula to be immune to.
Yeah, the only way to kill Mothula with the gold sword in the vanilla game is to use pokes.
Wait a minute. Alright, Khloe's gonna check the Bonk Rocks.
Yeah, this is going to be King's Tomb into Bonk Rocks into Lumberjack, most likely.
Which is exactly what Khloe needs to do. Still has the Aga climb though, I forgot about that in my brain math. But this race is still pretty close. It can come down to left, right, it can come down to Ganon deaths. And Zelda doing this back to front is also tightening things up a little bit, not a lot.
Yeah, but there's no way Khloe gets Aga dead before Zelga gets out of Skullwoods. At that point, it's basically just Turtle Rock, and then Zelga's Turtle Rock will be a little bit faster because they've already cleared it. It's not a major thing, probably only like 20-ish seconds, but it's still another chunk that Zelga or Khloe would have to make up.
So with that check, Khloe now realizes what they have to do. And Zelda just needs to go to the right here, and we'll be in go mode. So both know what needs to be done at this point in time. There's the ice rock. Zelda's now in go mode. Khloe has an information, knows where Quake is also in go mode, even though it doesn't have the Quake down just yet. So I'd say probably about 3 or 4 minutes apart. Still fairly close. It could come down to either way.
Yeah, Aga Tower is from entry is basically 4 flats with 0 blue balls, but it's 3, so that's another 24 seconds. So it's gonna be 4.5.
And I think the best part about the seed is both of the items that they needed for Goma were in the same general area of the map, but they were in 2 different locations. And they pretty much last location both of them. So Zelda will be the first one to enter Turtle Rock here, and the first one to enter Ganon's Tower. This, of course, is just game 1, so this is still anyone's game here in terms of the set and who's moving on.
Yeah, I think there's neither one of them really are going to feel in a comfortable location. You know, Zelda having done this Turtle Rock dip completely unnecessary with the go mode item just almost effectively just laying out in the world. Meanwhile, you know, Khloe got a lot of those items early. Those pendant plays paid off, but the Ice Palace stuff definitely does not make you feel good. It'll be interesting if that Ice Palace stuff kind of affected any of their routing decisions. Maybe thinking they had to make a play to make up for it at that point.
Alright. Khloe now entering the Aga fight. Zelda just needs to get rid of these Hokobokus and then just go right here. That saves alone maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah, having already full cleared this, there's no gamble you have to make with the it's like more like 1% that stealing the key will end up kicking you back out.
And Zelda with half magic, 18 hearts red mail, gold sword, silver arrows, very, very unlikely to die.
Yeah, gold sword is actually the only way you can get a 0 cycle off on Trinex. It's one of the few places gold sword actually will speed you up in any way whatsoever.
It also makes a very free 1-on-1 Ganon.
Yeah, if you can't 1-on-1 with tempered sword normally, then tempered or gold sword does save you time there.
Alright, time for the Trinex fight. That's a 0 cycle right there, I can tell. Does take a step back.
Yeah, very nicely done.
And should get the quick kill here as well. Spins when the shell disappears. 1, 2, 3. Easy quick kill. And Aga's dead at the same time.
Yeah, just a textbook Trinex fight.
Khloe is a full dungeon behind at this point. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a game we'd like to play, and we need you to get your guests in real quick as I explained it here. We have 22 chests in Ganon's Tower, only one of which contains our Ganon's Tower big key to get up to the top. Give us a number in chat. Which chest do you think we're gonna find it in the order that you reveal them? Apathy, what do you think it's gonna be?
Oh, I'll say behind Ice Armos.
I'm gonna say, after everything they've been through, let's put it in Compass Chest. Or the Compass Room, really, that whole region. Right side.
Khloe finally in go mode with that Quake.
Yep.
So we can see they're about a full TR behind. So yeah, this is a good 6-minute gap here. 6-7 minute gap.
And Bugnet and Zelda is going to go right to start things off.
See, it'll be interesting if we see a tie room play here because can't be feeling very good right now.
No.
But no, we're just going to go full right.
Yeah, does have the Ice Rod in hand. Well, actually, no, Fire Rod. But does have the Ice Rod in the inventory.
Yeah, we used it for its one thing already. We're never going to see it again.
Pretty much. And Zelga's menuing is just lightning quick. You can see that cursor just dash across the field there.
compass just got the compass in it. Good joke, game. Good joke.
Is that the compass chest?
Yeah, it is the compass chest that makes the play.
All right. I know it's in that room. I don't know where it is.
The skull with compass is the same thing. Yeah, you can just see how good Zelda's execution is here. Just very crisp, very snappy movements. $10 and $11 coming up. 11 being the map. The next chest Zelda will check is chest 12, the map chest itself. I never got through that room without taking damage.
Yeah, it just requires just some quick movement to get across. I have trouble with that room too, honestly. Making some nice use of the boomerang there. I was like seeing the blue boomerang get its due. Very underrated item.
Alright, it's time for the random room. $14, $15, $16, and $17 coming up here. $14. No, that's 17. I'm miscounting now. 18 will be Bob's chest. And really, we can say this, the depth to Colster wasn't that great for Khloe, but also, oh, there it is, chest number 18. But also, Zelda having the boost for much longer also played a factor.
Yeah, this gap is big enough that the Colster def by itself is not the reason that Zelda is most likely going to take the win here. This is closer to like a 6 or 7 minute gap, like I said before, and Colster's that redip into Colster really only took about 3 minutes.
So no one guessed the Pinky guess game before we got into Gan's Castle. There was one guess that was correct, but it was a little late. So the closest person that guessed first was Wulasturu. I hope I pronounced that right. With a guess of 17.
Zelda heading into Ganon Ball Z here. He's going to walk right across. And we're coming up into the Gauntlet, which is 5 straight rooms of kill rooms. Kill all the enemies in the room. These are some of the harder rooms in the game. They're pretty RNG dependent too, so it's not like you can just memorize one strat to get through them. I have not seen that fire rod strat before, but that is a pretty interesting strat there with making use of the half magic. That shot that Zelda just did to kill that red skeleton left is actually making use of the spooky variable that we were talking about before. It tends to always be at the same value in this dungeon based upon the strats we use going in. So just hitting the pot right there causes the splash damage to just kill that skeleton pretty consistently.
All right, time of my favorites out of rooms. The Wizard of War. Just look at that, perfect clear. Khloe now getting the Smoky off the bridge.
At this point, though, with the level of execution Zelda has shown, plus having so much health, it is very unlikely that Zelda will be taking a death here.
Oh, Zelda dashing down before the fire bar comes around too. That is a very tight to pull off. That's just excellent right there.
And lighting the last location with the lamp.
Great helmet room as well.
Khloe not with the without the gold sword is gonna do the original way of fighting Trinix here. Unfortunately, Trinix is a little close to the edge, so it's very unlikely that we'll see a quick kill.
Now you can get the quick kill just no matter where Trinix is in the room.
No. Did not get it, unfortunately. The quick kill in phase 2 is you have to rely on the bounce to knock him into.
Yeah, you can get it. It
for the
just
double
becomes a
spin.
little trickier.
Yeah, it's fairly tricky with the close. It's a lot easier to get when Trinix dies in the back room, but that is the 7th crystal for Khloe. But Zelda is already fighting Aga 2. And it angles the fight pretty much. Same deal as Aga 1, 6 hits, but there are now duplicates that'll shoot. Aga will still shoot blue magic invocation, but the clones will always shoot orange magic. And to compensate for the clones, the lightning spell has been removed from his repertoire. Oh,
Yeah,
almost a
the cycle's
triple
also
there.
different on it. It's one guaranteed, 2 50-50s, and then a guaranteed shot again. But I think it was a 4 cycle, which is pretty good.
Looks like it was a
Or a
5
5
according to
cycle.
chat.
Okay.
Yeah, only one double.
Yeah, Aga 2 is one of the hardest fights in the game. You're not gonna die on it, but to be able to do it efficiently is just extremely difficult. There's just so many different patterns you can have.
Yeah. And with Aga 2 down, it's now time for Zelda to fight the pig. This fight really needs no introduction here, as we're gonna see it to be done lightning quick. First phase is 6 slashes. He's gonna throw the trident around. Now, very vulnerable. He'll teleport to a random spot and the trident will come back. Second phase is probably the most dangerous phase if you can't one cycle it. It's the fire shield phase, in which he'll set up this spiraling fire shield, and then the bat turn into bats and home in on you. Once then, he gives up his trident tactics and begins doing spiraling fire bats. Hitting him there will now break the stage, as we now see here. This is phase 3 Ganon. The teleports are seated just like Aga is. And after 4 hits, we move on to the darkness technique. Keep the torches lit. Hit Ganon once to stun him with your sword, and then let loose 4 silver arrows to win the day. Good positioning, maybe a triple? No, getting a double. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all they wrote. Get your GGs in chat for zelgadissan, who will be taking Game 1 in this series. Khloe Prower is not out just yet, and will have a chance in Game 2 to change things up to their advantage. And the official SRL time here is zelgadissan finishing in first place with a time of 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 9 seconds.
And we're going to be joined shortly by Zelda here in a second.
Indeed. Khloe pausing there. They're knowing the race is done to give GGs to Zelda for a good race. I think things a little more lax now.
And we're joined by Zelda right now. GG.
Hey, GG's. Thank you very much.
So this was the last location for the both of you, pretty much. You with the ice rod in Skullwoods, and Khloe not checking Aga until after the boots. So,
Yeah, I kind of got as much from talking to Khloe and then hopping on the restream when I finished. Yeah, this was rough. To be honest, I absolutely kind of god routed the first half of the seed, and then I got the mitts exactly one check too early because the ice rod chest in Skullwoods would have been my very next chest. But
Yeah, Chloe actually got that. Actually, did both of the pendant dungeons very early, and was looking for a while. That may be a deciding factor. It was like I said, as soon as that happened, just the seed's going to come down to when you decide to make the Skullwoods play. And were you thinking Turtle Rock the first time you went up the mountain? Because it was looking like you were thinking that, and then kind of got stuck on that line of thinking, and ended up routing back in before doing Skullwoods.
a little bit, yeah. It got to right after I checked Aga is when I saw Quake on the lumberjack, and that's when I went back up the mountain because I was like, I need to know right the second if that's what I need for Turtle Rock.
At
So
that point,
I would have gone, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was looking like. There was a little bit of hope that we saw that you the routing after you defeated Aga, which was really nice, going into Graveyard Ledge into the lumberjack, and I was kind of hoping you were gonna just take that routing all the way to Skullwoods, and you ended up not doing that and floating out. Was there a thought of doing Skullwoods there? Because it seemed like that'd have been a decent time just to dip in, or were you just full on Turtle Rock at that point?
I was mostly full on Turtle Rock at that point. I only had like 5 or 6 things outside of Turtle Rock at that point. And honestly, I kind of figured that what would happen is that Khloe would check the front of Skullwoods pretty early because of how we got Dark World access, and it seems like I'm right on that.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah. So even then, when I was going to Skullwoods, that's why I went basically straight to Matula. I was like, well, maybe if we check the front, maybe something got left behind here in the back of Skullwoods, and that's how I can make up my time, even though I'm basically last locating this.
Yeah, the big thing on Chloe's side was the death to Cold Stare, but the gap was a little bit more than that at the end. Besides that, I don't really think there was like one major thing that happened. Chloe ended up putting off Death Mountain for a really long time, not getting that hook shot. So I think that was one of the other big things.
Yeah, I felt really good about my routing throughout the start of the seed, like kind of getting the bow on a split decision to like just blind check Highlight Island and then the hobo, which is just really paid off. Go to Pod and Eastern and get the fire rod, and then I can just kind of focus on some stuff like that.
I was a little surprised you ended up because I mean I thought that bit of routing worked out very nice for you. I was a little surprised you ended up going into Pod before Eastern because you didn't have any sort of fire source for the turtles and a really low health. You got bailed out a little bit by finding that fire rod, but I was a little disappointed I didn't get to see what your plan was for that basement because I was nervous about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a lot of spoiler races, so I've done some weird equipment for the Dark Turtle Room before. I probably would have ended up using a combination of arrows and bombs to try and echolocate stuff if I needed to.
And if I may cut you off here, Chloe Prower has now officially forfeited the race and has now also joined us here in the commentary booth. Good effort here, Chloe Prower, and welcome. Walk us through the seed as well.
Hi, GG's. Hi.
GG.
And GG's, Chloe.
Yeah, I know exactly where I screwed up. See if you can spot it.
It was actually sort of close there, but one of the key factors here was, and we haven't mentioned this to Zelda yet, Chloe actually died at Cold Stare.
Yeah, I was talking about that was Zelda in the chat. Yeah, I was at the point where I didn't have access to much else. I had the front of Swamp and I had Ice Palace, and I made the decision to do Ice Palace with Fighter Sword because I figured I could do it, and I just couldn't, I guess. I ended up missing the spin at the start of the fight, and that was slow.
Yeah, and it just occurred to me that it actually stings a lot more to tell you this as well. Zoka found the fourth sword, and the fourth sword was in Ice Rod Cave, right outside Ice Palace.
Yeah, I know. I mean, my decision to actually full clear Hero came completely from my death to Cold Stare too. It was you have to go into the basement to get the big key, and then hike around through the entire O'Hara. and that was slow. And then my decision to run up to Skullwoods, even after I fully cleared it, just to check the pedestal, was also slow. I mean, basically, I made a lot of, like, gambly routing decisions after dying to Cold Stare that I think cost me more time.
Yeah,
Because I was playing from knowing that I was behind.
yeah. Well, you did have the advantage. The main thing was Zelda did not do either Thieves Town or Skullwoods early, and you made those pennant dips very early. So that was pretty much the entire seed. Zelda was ahead in like crystal count, but since you had those two items that he didn't have, that was a pretty big advantage on your end, and unfortunately, it just never quite paid off. I think the like you said, the Cold Stare death ended up just kind of snowballing into some other bad decisions. The difference was more than just the Cold Stare death at the end, but like you said, the other decisions you made on top of that kind of added to the gap there.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, I'm never gonna out-execute Zelda. That's not a thing. Um, so the only way I mean, I respect Zelda. He's an amazing runner. The only way I'm gonna beat him really is if I outroute him, and that just didn't happen, especially with the Cold Stare death.
Yeah, just unfortunate. I mean, that's a tough fight. I mean, it was at the point where both of you were looking at pretty tough fighter sword fights, where Zelda was looking at going into Misery Mire, and you were looking at Ice Palace. And unfortunately, all the swords were in the Misery Mire area, so Zelda had just pretty standard fights. Didn't have to struggle with it at all. Ended up getting the boots. I think getting the boots really early was the other big deciding factor. Just he had a significant time ahead of you, so.
Yeah, I would agree
Yeah.
with that.
I should have made the decision to sequence break up to Death Mountain earlier too, before going to Ice. I think I had a lot of checks up there, and of course the hookshot was up there, so that was all the checks up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
and,
were waiting for you to make that one.
And basically because of the fact that Hookshot was up there and where we found the lamp and the flute, this save wanted you to essentially go into swamp twice.
I know, that was really weird and
That was
annoying.
fairly disgusting. Yeah.
I was contemplating it. I was contemplating jumping into swamp, but I'm like, I can't do the front half of swamp. That looks terrible. Plus, there wasn't like a lot that. Like, I knew either the lamp or flute was either in there or in Ice Palace at the time, but it's like neither of them unlock a ton. Like, the flute unlocks Misery Mire area, but that's really it. It's like 6 items.
Yeah, and again, you were looking at that with fighter swords. That wasn't necessarily any that much more attractive than
right, exactly.
Cold Stare,
So I mean, if the lamp was in there and it led up to Death Mountain, and that was.
Yeah, definitely a little lucky on Zelga's side, just those swords being in the areas that he had access to earlier, as opposed to the areas that you had access to earlier. I think if like maybe the swords were in like Smiths or something like that, this could have gone the other way very easily.
Another thing that could have made it go the other way is if it was actually Ether for Turtle Rock instead of Quake, which you had Ether for the entire seed as well, that being the other item in Skullwoods that Zelda did not pick up, and would have also last location.
Yeah, but I would have been doing Fighter Sword Trinex instead.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
I was actually fully ready to dive Turtle Rock too with my equipment set when I got up there. I was hoping for a second sword, but
yeah, we were looking for that. It was funny because Zelda checked Lumberjack like 5 seconds before you got over to Turtle Rock, so we knew everything within like 5 seconds of each other, and we're like, well, that's gonna be a thing now.
yeah, that Agassiz kind of snuck up on us, I think.
Yeah. As do most seeds that involve Lumberjack being checked late. But, Khloe, you are now down to Game 1. You both have Game 2 coming up, I believe, Wednesday at 7:20, if I read the schedule correctly. Do you care to inform us of the change that you're going to make to the settings, or do you need more time to think about that?
I'm going to add maps and compasses.
Map, compass, shuffle. Good choice.
It increases the randomness by a lot. It helps me out, I think.
Yeah. So map, compass, shuffle, which means the map and compasses function like they do in Key Sanity, and also that also means 2 extra items in each of the dungeons. So that could definitely shake things up in your favor, and hopefully it does, and we see a Game 3 between you two. Make sure to follow both zelgadissan and Khloe Prower here. They put on an excellent race for us today. So also make sure to follow my co-comp Appy Duck and our tracker Vince Easter as well. And make sure to also follow Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 through 6 so you don't miss any racing action, not just a Link to the Past randomizer. And if you want to see another race going on right now over on Speed Gaming 2, we do have another race in progress. It is Goomba versus I Am the Schwartz. Where it's going on right now. They're about a half an hour into it right at this moment. Should be a great one to watch. And with that being all said and done, folks, also make sure to follow Link to the Past Randomizer and Link to the Past Randomizer 2 through 5. If we have some extra help, we can also get some of those these races over there as well. But with that being all said and done, folks, from all of us here at Link to the Past Randomizer 2019 tournament, I have been WolfLink0370, and we shall see you all next time, and thank you for watching. Have a good night, everyone.